Hello, everybody. My name is Richard Macias. We've all met. So for today, I want to give my commemorative speech, and the topic that I've chosen, the event, um, basically can be summed up into moments. We've all had them, been alive, moments in our lives, things that change us for the better or for the worse, things that we can reflect on when we think about. I like to reflect mostly on the good moments, I think, as anybody does. But it's those moments that change us, that change the way we think about something, that change how we feel about something, or that changes the person that we actually are. Maybe we were thinking that we were somebody up to that certain moment, and when that moment happens, we reevaluate your life, and you think, that's not who I was, and this is who I want to be now. I've had those moments. I think one pretty good example of a life-changing moment was probably the first time that I visited Alaska. It was about 6 years ago, and I came up here with my family. Two of my kids were already up here, and I'd never been to a place or experienced anything like Alaska. I knew then and that I was going to somehow, some way make Alaska a permanent part of my life. I didn't know how at that time, but through time we came up with a plan, and thinking about it, working on it. Several years later, opportunity arose. My wife and my youngest son and I, we ended up moving up here, and now Alaska's home. Life-changing moment. Of all the moments, though, that I can think of in my life, of the things that have happened to me, the things that have had, the moments that have had the most impact on me are the moments that my 3 kids were born. We have a preconceived notion of what's going to happen when you have kids. You think about what kind of parent you want to be. And like I said, those 3 moments were the big changes for me in my life. I love all my 3 kids equally. They are probably the most important things in my life, next to my wife. But that first moment when that first child was born was a complete life-changing moment. I'm not the same person that I was prior to that happening. So to kind of go back a little bit, my wife and I met in high school. We began dating through high school, had our ups and downs, and we ended up getting married pretty young. I was 18, she was 19, right out of high school. I know a lot of my family probably thought that we only got married because she was pregnant, and kind of a shotgun type wedding, and that wasn't the case. My oldest wasn't born until probably close to 2 years after we had been married. And so unless she carried him for the same time that an elephant carries their babies, then we definitely weren't pregnant when we got married. So we make a decision that we want to have kids, and we'd spend a little bit of time being newlyweds and kind of getting to know what married life was like, and we get pregnant. So I remember her telling me that we're pregnant, and once that happens, a lot of thoughts start going through my mind, and I'm thinking to myself, you're going to be a dad. What kind of dad are you going to be? How are you going to teach this kid? How are you going to take care of this kid? What kind of things are you going to teach this kid? And we found out that he was going to be a boy, so I was pretty stoked about that boy. And but I'm thinking, how am I going to teach him, as you were, how to be a man? And so you're nervous. And I remember sitting and talking to my dad, and in my dad's kind of off humor way, he's kind of, when you're there at the birth, and after the baby comes out, you got to remember to reach up in there and grab that owner's manual. And I'm like, are you serious? That's the best you got for me? And he gets real serious, and he tells me to go, Nobody really knows exactly how they're going to be. Um, you just have to do the best you can for your kids and keep them safe and put them first. Family comes first. So, go through the pregnancy, fast forward, and it's January 1st, 1992, New Year's Day. My wife goes into labor in the morning, and but we're not to that point where we need to go to the hospital. So I remember we're at my mother-in-law's house, and she's going through contractions now and again, and they're starting to get closer, but it's still not quite that time. And we're sitting there with the family on New Year's Day, and we're playing cards. We're just kind of doing whatever we can to keep ourselves occupied. We go on walks to get the process moving, and about 5:30 in the evening, it's time. So we go to the hospital, and it wasn't too long after we got there that it's full. It's going. It's game time, and we go to the birthing classes, and I remember the breathing, and we're doing all of that. And my wife has decided that she's not wanting to use any kind of numbing medication, so she wants to deliver the kids naturally, which she was a rock star the entire time. She's on her focal point, she's doing the breathing, I'm doing the breathing, trying not to pass out, and as the contractions are getting stronger, she's squeezing my hand, and by the end of it, she had squeezed my hand so hard that it bent my wedding band and I couldn't get my ring off my finger. So we're going through the process, and I'm looking down there, and I see the kid coming out, and I'm starting to freak out. She's being the rock star, and I'm thinking, oh my God, it's going to happen. And next thing you know, this kid comes screaming into the world, and doctor takes him, nurses take him. My wife is doing fine, and they clean him up, and well, just prior to that, the doctor asks, do you want to cut the cord? And I'm like thinking to myself, I can barely stand, and you want me to have a sharp object to cut this thing? What if I mess something up, And so I muster up the strength, and I cut the cord, and it's a moment that you'll never forget when you see that cord get cut. And I almost didn't have the strength to do it at the beginning, and the doctor's looking at me like, really? Your wife just did this and you can't cut the cord? And so I get it done, and they take him and they clean him up. They bring him back, and they lay him on my wife's chest. And right at that moment, my nervousness is gone. My anxiety is gone, and I know exactly that my whole focus from this day forward is to make sure that this kid is safe, to make sure that my family is taken care of. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know exactly what I was going to be then. 20 years old, still trying to figure it out, but I knew without a doubt, I was going to take care of my family no matter what it took. And from that day on, we ended up having 2 more kids. I think they're all pretty successful. I know I'm a changed person. I think that would be the day that I became a man. Whatever you can call a man in my mind, knowing that these kids were my focus and that they were going to have all of my attention, that to me is what changed my life. So that's a moment in my life that I know I'll never forget, and that changed me for the rest of my life. So thank you for listening for my story. I look forward to watching everybody else's video, and everybody have a nice day. Thank you.